The Beverly Hills skyline shimmered beneath a velvet sky. Stars both celestial and human gathered at a glittering charity gala. Inside the glass-walled venue, under chandeliers worth more than most homes, Hollywood's elite sipped champagne and traded empty compliments wrapped in $1,000 smiles. Tonight, the program promised something different. Raw, unscripted talent, they called it. But no one came for talent. They came to witness the evening's real entertainment. Keanu Reeves, the action star known for monosyllabic answers and thousand-yard stares, was about to embarrass himself playing a guitar. Whispers had spread weeks in advance. "He's performing," someone asked with a sneer. "Wait, like singing." Another replied, "No idea, but he's bringing that same beat-up guitar case he always drags around. It'll be a disaster. I can't wait." They didn't say his name kindly. "That weird guitar guy," they muttered, their voices lined with a cruel amusement. The cameras had already been told to capture every note, every awkward strum, every moment of what they expected would be an on-stage implosion. But what none of them understood, what none of them could have imagined, was that they weren't watching a fall. They were watching a resurrection. Flashback. Beverly Hills High School, 2019. Long before red carpets and tailored suits, Keanu Reeves walked the polished hallways of Beverly Hills High like a ghost no one cared to see. At 17, he already moved like someone who'd been taught to shrink himself. Shoulders slightly hunched, gaze downcast, steps quiet. His hair draped over his eyes like a curtain, shielding him from a world that had never made space for him. In his right hand, always a leather guitar case, worn, cracked, adorned with peeling band stickers no one recognized. He carried it like armor, or maybe a secret. They didn't call him Keanu. They called him Guitar Boy, not with warmth, with mockery. The nickname clung to him like graffiti scrawled across his identity, a warning to others. This kid is strange. He walked past the popular girls clustered near their lockers. "There goes Guitar Boy," one whispered loud enough to be heard. "Probably writes love songs to his socks." Laughter followed like footsteps behind him. He didn't flinch, didn't answer. He'd learned long ago. Silence was safer. Reacting made it worse. To most students and staff, Keanu was furniture, always there, never noticed. He could sit alone in the cafeteria for weeks, and no one would realize he hadn't spoken a word. But they didn't know his nights. Each evening, behind the thin walls of a modest home a few blocks from the school, Keanu became someone else. In his bedroom, walls covered in band posters. His desk cluttered with half-filled notebooks and broken guitar picks. He played, not for anyone, not for applause, for survival. His fingers coaxed sound from steel strings like they were drawing blood. His voice, soft, unsure, became bold, sharp, honest. Music wasn't his hobby. It was his truth, his refuge, his rebellion. Scene transition. The talent show poster one Monday. Fluorescent-colored posters bloomed on every bulletin board like weeds. Beverly Hills High Talent Show. A night of stars, gold lettering, glittery borders, big promises. Students buzzed. Sarah Mitchell signed up for jazz dance. Brad Thompson for stand-up comedy. Jessica Chen, the piano prodigy, for a Chopin solo. Keanu lingered near the sign-up sheet during a rare quiet moment between classes. The hallway felt cavernous, echoing. His eyes scanned the names. His fingers itched. For one fragile heartbeat, he imagined it. Stepping onto that stage, guitar slung over his shoulder, finally sharing the music inside him. But then, dreaming of stardom, Guitar Boy, the fantasy shattered. Brad Connors stood there, Beverly High royalty, basketball captain, trust fund golden boy, murking, flanking him like bookends. Mike Harrison, all teeth and swagger, and Jessica Santos, dripping with weaponized charm. Keanu flinched. "I was just looking." "Sure you were," Brad said smoothly. "We all have our little dreams." "Let the boy dream," Jessica cooed. "It's cute in a tragic kind of way." Laughter, cold, cruel, cutting. They walked away, their performance over, and Keanu stood alone, the bulletin board now looking more like a wall of shame than opportunity. What he didn't know, Brad had just had an idea. The kind of idea only the popular and petty could devise. They were going to make Guitar Boy the headliner, not for the music, for the mockery. The cafeteria at Beverly Hills High wasn't just a lunchroom, it was a kingdom, each table a territory. The jocks ruled the center like lions. Theater kids flailed in dramatic corners. STEM students hunched in quiet clusters. Near the tall glass windows, on the best-lit table with the best view, sat the crown-wearers of the school, Brad Connors and his entourage. Today, their royal court buzzed with a specific kind of excitement. The hunt. The sign-ups are so boring, Jessica said, twirling a strand of hair around one perfectly manicured finger. Same people. Tamax, we need something fresh. Something shocking. Brad leaned back in his chair, arms stretched over the backrest like a king bored with his kingdom. We need a wild card, he muttered. Someone totally wrong for the stage. Mike chuckled, like someone who wouldn't survive a spotlight. Jessica gasped, her eyes sparkling with cruel inspiration. She turned her gaze toward the far end of the cafeteria. Oh my God, him! At the corner table, where the walls met the vending machines, sat Keanu, alone as always, a sandwich in one hand, a book in the other. His guitar case leaned against the chair like a loyal shadow. Brad followed her gaze. A slow grin crept across his face. Perfect, he said. Guitar Boy. Jessica's smile widened. He actually carries that thing everywhere. What if we convince him to perform? The crowd would eat it up, Mike added. The awkward intro, the stammering, the off-key singing. It would be comedy gold. Exactly, Brad said. He wants to be seen. Let's give him an audience. The approach Keanu didn't notice Brad until he was nearly at his table. He looked up, startled, like a deer catching the snap of a twig too late. Hey man, Brad said casually. Mind if I sit? Keanu blinked, utterly disoriented. No, mean yeah, sure. Brad sat across from him, acting as if this was normal, as if they were friends. As if this wasn't the first time he'd ever spoken to him directly. Jessica and Mike watched from their thrones, exchanging knowing looks. Brad pointed at the guitar case. You play. Keanu hesitated. A little. Come on, dude. Everyone knows you're the guitar guy. You're like famous for it. Keanu stared, unsure if it was a compliment or mockery. I just like playing. That's awesome, Brad replied. Actually, that's kind of why I came over. You know about the talent show, right? Keanu nodded slowly. We've been talking, Brad continued, leaning in like he was sharing a secret. The lineup is super basic this year. Same people doing the same things. But you'd be different. You'd be real. Keanu's brow furrowed. Real? Yeah, man. Like authentic. Not all glitter and fakeness. Just raw music. You on stage with your guitar. That'd blow everyone away. The words landed like foreign objects in Keanu's chest. No one had ever spoken to him like this. Like he mattered. Like he could be something. He opened his mouth to speak, but nothing came out. You'd kill it, Brad pressed. Even Mrs. Patterson from the music department said she's looking for someone who brings something new. That was a lie. But Keanu didn't know that. I've never really played for people, Keanu admitted. All the more reason. Brad grinned. You'll blow their minds. Keanu's silence stretched, then barely audible. Maybe. Brad stood up with a triumphant clap on the back. Atta boy. The sign-up sheets outside the main office. Just don't wait too long. Spots are filling up. Back at the royal table. He's gonna do it, Jessica whispered. He totally believes you think he's talented. Brad smirked. He's already rehearsing in his head. Mike grinned, pulling out his phone. We're filming that night. Every second. This is going viral. None of them had any idea what they had actually set in motion. They didn't see a boy practicing in his room until his fingers bled. They didn't see the depth, the poetry, the fire. They only saw a target. And that's what made their plan so perfect and so fatally flawed. The whole way later that afternoon, Keanu stood once again before the bulletin board outside the main office. The sheet was fuller now. Names crowded every line. His heart thundered in his ears. His fingers trembled. The pen hovered above the paper. Just walk away. Just pretend this never happened. But a voice inside him, quiet, familiar, the one that sang when no one was listening, whispered back, "What if you tried? Just once." He signed his name, Keanu Reeves. Original guitar performance. Then he stepped back. The moment the pen left the page, the school's invisible radar lit up. The gossip storm begins by fifth period. The entire school knew. By lunch the next day, it was the only topic of conversation. Wait, Guitar Boy, really? He's gonna actually perform. Maybe it's a joke. No, Brad told him to do it. He's the one who convinced him. Dude, this is going to be so bad. I can't wait. The transformation of a rumor by Wednesday morning. The cafeteria didn't just serve food. It served whispers. Guitar Boy signed up. Brad put him up to it. Do you think he'll actually show? Every hallway, locker room, and classroom echoed with the same story. And at the center of it all, unaware of just how much he was being watched, was Keanu. The boy who once walked through school like a ghost was now under a magnifying glass, but not out of admiration, out of hunger. The student body wasn't curious about his music. They were waiting to watch him fail. The library interrogation mic found him in the library that afternoon. Keanu sat at a back table, flipping through a music theory book that was decades too advanced for the class curriculum. His guitar case rested by his foot like a sleeping dog. "Yo," Mike said, pulling up a chair without invitation. "How's it going?" Keanu looked up, startled. "Fine." "Big show coming up, huh?" Keanu nodded slowly. Mike leaned in, voice dropping. "I just wanted to say, I think it's cool you're doing this." "Really?" Keanu blinked. "Thanks. Just one tip," Mike added with a casual tone that made Keanu's stomach twist. "Pick something simple. You know, a song everyone knows. Something safe." Keanu stared. "Safe? Yeah, like... You don't want to overdo it and lose the crowd. Just something chill. A crowd pleaser." The words felt wrapped in syrup but cut like razors. Keanu nodded, unsure how else to respond. "Cool. See you there, man." Mike stood, offered a fake thumbs up, and walked off. And with him, he carried the first planted seed of doubt. The hallway whispers by the end of the day. The psychological warfare was in full swing. People didn't just mock him openly. That would have been too easy. They whispered just loud enough for him to hear. "I hope he doesn't cry on stage. What if he forgets the lyrics? Should we bring tomatoes?" Every comment chipped away at his armor. And yet, something strange was happening too. Beneath the doubt, beneath the fear, something else stirred. The music room. Keanu began spending every lunch in the music room, sometimes alone, sometimes with Mrs. Henderson quietly shuffling sheet music nearby. He didn't talk much, just played, fingers sliding over strings again and again, until the notes felt like muscle memory, like breath. He didn't pick something safe, or something popular. He picked the one song that had stayed with him since the night he wrote it. A song that wasn't written for crowds, it was written for survival. The song, it had no name, but it had a pulse. A haunting chord progression that carried the weight of years. A melody shaped by rejection, resilience, and nights spent staring at the ceiling, wondering if he'd ever feel seen. It was a song about invisibility, about being almost noticed, almost loved, almost enough. Mrs. Henderson's offer one afternoon. As Keanu finished the final chord and let it ring into silence, Mrs. Henderson approached. "Keanu," she said gently, "can I talk to you?" He looked up. She had never spoken to him like this before. Directly, warmly, like she saw him. You know you don't have to do this, right? She asked. Keanu blinked. I know. There's been talk. I'm sure you've heard some of it. He nodded. I just want to say, she paused. This kind of bravery, getting on that stage anyway. It already makes you more of an artist than most adults I know. Keanu's throat tightened. What if I fail? He asked. Mrs. Henderson smiled sadly. Then you'll fail more courageously than the rest of them will ever try. He didn't respond, but he didn't need to. Something inside him clicked. He didn't want to perform for applause. He wanted to perform because he had something to say. Home. The night before that evening, Keanu sat on his bed, guitar in his lap, calluses throbbing. He stared up at the ceiling where glow-in-the-dark stars still stuck from childhood. He closed his eyes and let the song run through him like blood, not as a performer, as a person. Phone call. The landline rang downstairs. His mother called up. Keanu, it's your teacher. He rushed down, heart skipping. Hello. Hi, Keanu. It's Mrs. Henderson again. I just wanted to remind you. No matter what happens tomorrow, I'm proud of you. Keanu swallowed hard. Thank you. There are people in that audience who'll come just to laugh. Let them. But others, they'll listen, because they need to hear what you have to say. He didn't know what to say, so he whispered, okay. And when he hung up, something like peace settled over him, not because he wasn't scared, but because he'd finally decided to walk into that fear anyway. Talent show night. The auditorium of Beverly Hills High had never looked more glamorous. String lights crisscrossed overhead, banners draped from the balcony. The school had spared no expense to transform the gymnasium into something out of a movie premiere. Parents in semi-formal wear took their seats, clutching programs and cameras. Teachers buzzed backstage, keeping the chaos somewhat contained. But the real storm was brewing beneath the surface. Every student knew it. Tonight was the night Guitar Boy crashed and burned, and they were here to witness it. Backstage, controlled chaos. The dressing rooms pulsed with adrenaline. Costumes, makeup, last-minute tuning, whispered prayers. Keanu sat alone in a far corner, guitar case open across his lap. He was dressed simply. Dark jeans, a clean black shirt, and scuffed sneakers. No showbiz sparkle, no gimmicks, just him and six strings. He could hear the muffled sound of the opening act. Laughter, floss, ears. Each one made his chest tighter. He breathed in. He breathed out. He tried to remember the words. Brad's crew arrives front row. Tenter seats. Phones charged and ready. Brad sat like a king awaiting execution. Not his own, of course, but someone else's. Jessica sat beside him, hair curled to perfection, lips already curled into a smirk. Mike had his camera app open. He's gonna choke, Jessica whispered. Let's hope he doesn't cry, Mike added. Brad just grinned. This is going to be legendary. Mrs. Henderson appears backstage. Keanu sat unmoving, the world around him a blur of activity. Mrs. Henderson approached, kneeling beside him. You good? She asked quietly. He nodded. No matter what happens, remember what this is, she said. Keanu looked at her. This isn't about them. It's about the truth you've been carrying for years. Tonight, let it out. He nodded again. She smiled. They don't know it yet, but they're lucky to hear you. The final countdown, one act before his. A magician was on stage now, pulling doves from scarves and drawing laughter from the kids in the crowd. Keanu stood. He checked his tuning one last time. His hands trembled slightly, not from fear but from pressure. This wasn't just a performance. This was everything he had never said. Curtain call. The magician bowed. Applause thundered, then silence. Mrs. Patterson, the drama teacher, stepped forward. And now, she said clearly into the microphone, please welcome Keanu Reeves, performing an original piece. The walk, each step toward the stage, felt like a mile. Keanu entered the pool of white light. For heartbeat, time stopped. 300 faces stared back at him. The heat from the spotlight was suffocating. His stomach flipped. The auditorium stretched endlessly. Shadows, outlines, sneers. Brad, Jessica, all with phones pointed like weapons. Keanu stood before the mic. Then silence. The moment his fingers froze, his throat closed. He forgot the first line. A quiet cough came from the audience. "Come on, guitar boy," someone muttered. Few chuckles. The panic almost won. Then, in the dark at the very back, he saw her. Mrs. Henderson. She mouthed two words. "Trust yourself." The first note his finger found the string. The first chord came low and warm. Then the second. Then the third. The guitar came alive in his hands. And finally he sang. The performance, what came from him, wasn't shaky. It wasn't fragile. 'Twas real. A haunting melody laced with memories and wounds. A voice that had never been given space now filled the room like smoke. It was a song about being unseen, about walking invisible through places full of eyes, about finding the courage to finally say, "Here I am." No auto-tune, no lights, no backup singers, just him. And it shook the room. The silence after when he finished the last note. Keanu looked up, heart hammering. The crowd was still, too still. He braced himself. Then, like someone breaking a spell, a single clap, then two, then a dozen. Then the entire auditorium erupted. Standing ovation. Students who hadn't spoken to him in years were now on their feet. Parents stood. Teachers wiped their eyes. And for the first time in his life, Keanu Reeves was seen. Brad's table, Jessica blinked. Mike's phone was still recording, forgotten in his hand. Brad sat frozen, not with joy, not with satisfaction, but with something new, humiliation. Not Keanu's, his own. He had wanted a punchline. Instead, he had created a star. Backstage, Mrs. Henderson met Keanu behind the curtain. He placed the guitar back in its case, hands trembling. She didn't say, "Good job." She said, "You changed something tonight." And he had. Not just the story they told about him, but the story he told about himself. The standing ovation still echoed even as Keanu walked off stage. The applause followed him like a second heartbeat. It didn't fade quickly, rolled, swelled. It refused to die down. Because the people in that auditorium hadn't just witnessed a school performance. They had witnessed a revelation. He didn't run. He didn't collapse. He just walked. Steady. Guitar by his side. Backstage was chaos. Performers cheered. Parents cried. Teachers whispered. And Keanu, the boy who had been a ghost in the hallway, now carried the presence of someone real. Someone unforgettable. A shift in the air, students buzzed with new energy. Phones exploded with notifications. Texts, posts, clips. The standing ovation had been caught from 5 angles. And someone had already uploaded the full performance online. Within the hour, it had 12,000 views. Titles varied. Shy Kid Destroys Talent Show with Original Song. From Nobody to Legend. Keanu's performance. Brad's joke backfired hard. People couldn't stop watching. Not because it was viral. 'Cause it was honest. 'Cause it meant something. The teachers react the following Monday. The teachers' lounge buzzed like it hadn't in years. Mrs. Patterson, "I haven't seen a crowd respond like that ever." Mr. Bouchard, the gym coach, "Kid gave me chills. Thought it was going to be a train wreck. I was wrong." Principal Gomez watched the video in his office 3 times before calling the district superintendent. "We might have a scholarship case here." Back at school, Keanu walked into the building expecting. He didn't know what. Mockery. Indifference. But that's not what he found. The silence had changed. It wasn't empty. It was respectful. People moved to let him through in the hallway. Eyes met his. Not with pity, but with curiosity, admiration. For the first time ever, someone smiled at him and meant it. Jessica Chen stopped him at his locker. "Your voice," she said softly. "It's like... it hurts, but it's beautiful." He blushed. "Thanks." Brad's world cracks in contrast. Brad's life got quieter. but not in a peaceful way. People still talked to him, still sat at his table, but something was missing from their eyes now. Fear, admiration. The crown didn't fit like it used to. He overheard whispers he wasn't supposed to hear. That was cold. I heard he planned the whole thing to humiliate Keanu. Why does Brad always need to punch down? Imagine wasting your energy on someone who just wanted to play music. In the mirror of the boys' locker room, Brad stared at himself and, for once, didn't see a leader. He saw a kid who had tried to destroy someone else and failed. Mike and Jessica drift. Mike avoided Keanu entirely. The guilt showed in how quiet he'd become. He didn't joke. He didn't brag. He stopped posting altogether. Jessica changed in a different way. She approached Keanu in the library 3 days later, voice almost unsure. "I never thought you'd mean. I didn't expect it." Keanu said nothing. "But I'm glad you proved us wrong," she added. "Really?" Then she walked away. Maybe for the first time, she felt the weight of what she'd been part of. Keanu's inner world, the attention was new, uncomfortable, but something inside him had shifted forever. He still sat alone sometimes, still walked quietly, still carried his guitar like armor, but now he wasn't hiding behind it. He was leading with it. An unexpected message 1 week after the show. Keanu opened his email to find something strange. A message from a local recording studio. Subject line: "We saw your performance." Inside: "Hi Keanu, we'd love to invite you for a free session at our studio. We think there's something really special in your voice. No pressure, just an open door. Julian Marks, Riverlight Studios." Keanu reread it twice, then again. His hands trembled, not with fear this time, but with possibility. Final scene. The new walk. He walked down the same hallways, same lockers, same walls, but now every step felt different, because now people saw him, not the caricature, not Guitar Boy, not the joke. They saw Keanu Reeves, and he wasn't invisible anymore. In the end, Keanu never became the school's loudest voice. He didn't chase popularity, followers, or revenge. He didn't need to, because what he found on that stage wasn't fame or validation. It was something deeper. He found his voice. And once you find your voice, the world no longer gets to define you. The boy they tried to laugh off the stage became the memory they'd never forget, not because he yelled the loudest, but because he stood in the spotlight with nothing but truth in his hands, and let the music speak. They tried to make him a punchline. Instead, he became a story worth telling, not just a performance. Beginning.